All right, everyone. Welcome back, CrossFit Control podcast. This week, we're sitting down with one of our members, Cheyenne. Cheyenne, you want to say hi?
Hey.
And Cheyenne's son, Kholton. Kholton does the kids class. You want to say hi?
Hey.
So we're continuing the theme of interviewing members who have unique stories. With Cheyenne, when did you start CrossFit?
So I joined July of 2021.
July of 2021.
Yeah.
And then how long did you do it before you went in for your surgery?
So I actually, because I hadn't quite committed to that kind of lifestyle, I guess a workout lifestyle. So my surgery was in October, and I came to about a handful of classes between the end of July and my surgery in October.
Okay. Can you try to turn your mic? There you go. I know it's a little weird. I can see like the levels on that. And so which surgery did you have?
So I had a gastric sleeve surgery.
And can you walk us through a little bit of what that was like?
Yeah. So what it is gastric sleeve. A lot of people think of a gastric bypass, which is actually a completely different surgery. So a gastric sleeve, I actually had 80% of my stomach cut out. So instead of having, like a normal male adult would have a 16-ounce stomach, I actually have more of like a 6-ounce stomach now.
When you started with us, did you lose any weight leading up to the surgery? I guess two different parts. One, did you lose any weight before you started CrossFit, because you started CrossFit and nutrition at the same time? And then two, what was the change leading up to the surgery?
So I lost about 8 pounds between joining CrossFit and actually the date of my surgery. I will say part of that was also not only because of CrossFit, but also because I was put on a liquid diet. And I was on it for you're only supposed to be on it for 2 weeks, but COVID had hit another high. So my surgery kept getting rescheduled I was on a liquid diet for, in the end, about almost 8 weeks. So I ended up losing, it was more around like 27 pounds by the time my surgery rolled around.
Wow. Hey, how was she on the liquid diet? Was she kind of cranky?
Yeah. A lot cranky.
So you had the surgery. How long was the recovery process before you could return?
So my doctor wouldn't release me to do anything. Like I wasn't allowed to go back to work for almost a month. And physically I wasn't allowed to return for about 6 weeks.
And then did you start right back to CrossFit after the 6 weeks?
I did. Simply because I decided, like, this surgery isn't what people like to, the general population likes to assume that it's a bit of like the easy way out. And I don't know how else to say this, but if they did any kind of research, they'd realize that that's not the answer. That's not how it works at all. But yeah, I came right back to CrossFit because I had decided and committed that I was not going to live how I was anymore. This was a full-blown lifestyle change, and that's what I was going to do.
How much weight have you lost total since the surgery?
So I'm 4 pounds from losing 100 pounds.
4 pounds from 100 pounds. It's so crazy. Like, we've talked to other people like Laura. I see you guys every day, so it's hard for me to see the changes that you go through until you post, hey, this was me a year ago and this is me today. Like you had that one after Festivus. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I'm aware that CrossFit changes lives, especially the way that we do it, but it's so interesting to see it because I see you guys day to day. It's interesting to see what it looks like a year in the making. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Even as me as an individual, it's hard for me to see the changes until I post a picture like that, which is a before and after, and actually see the difference myself.
Right, because we're our biggest critic, and
yes.
And I'm sure. I think, did you pull me aside when we did your goal review? You were talking about like how you've kind of plateaued, and mm-hmm. it's hard because as you get closer to the goal, the need to focus on the goal becomes more. What do you find was the biggest struggle in coming back to CrossFit after the surgery?
Simply, I mean, it was a brand new lifestyle. I didn't know how to make the gym a priority. I didn't know how to commit to it every day. How am I going to schedule that with my kids, the family, running here and there? How am I going to work that into my daily schedule? And I won't lie, it took us a couple months before I was finally hitting Committed Club and I was able to pull it off to make it every day. And that's just, we kind of sat down as a family group and I just decided, although this wasn't me 6 months ago, this is who I am now, and this is a priority, and this is what we are going to make this happen every day.
What made you decide to prioritize it? Because I guess, sorry, I should have, like, how old are you, if you don't mind?
Oh, no, I'm 33.
33, and you said you were a smoker.
Yes.
So what changed your life? What made you decide, you know what, I'm going to do this for myself, I'm going to make a better lifestyle? What was it that really made you want to push?
So there wasn't any specific event that I decided like I was just done living the way I was. Other than we went to the beach for a week. And it was the first time I'd ever taken an actual family vacation with everybody. And I was legit miserable the entire time. I hated the beach. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to swim. I didn't want to leave the beach house that we were in. And when we got home after a week at the beach, which, isn't cheap. So I literally wasted a whole bunch of money on a week that I was miserable at. Like that was never going to happen again. I'm never going to be, my kids in 10 years aren't going to look back and be like, oh, every family vacation, mom was miserable.
What made you miserable? Was it being overweight? Was it?
Yeah, overweight. So my two younger boys, at the time, they were, I think like 3 and 4. And at the time, they wanted a boogie board. Well, you had to be halfway out in the ocean to hold them on the boogie board to shove them out. And that was legit the hardest workout I had ever done. And it was awful.
Were you dating Tim at the time?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I would love to dive into that, like how your relationship has changed since you've lost this weight, because that's something. Did they go over that when you were leading up to the surgery?
You mean like how that's gonna?
Yeah. So we had another athlete who had similar. I think he had the gastric bypass. I don't remember what he had, but he had shared that when you go through this, they actually give couples counseling because
they call it the divorce diet is what they call it.
Yeah, because the person who loses all the weight, they either resent their spouse for not losing weight, or the spouse gets so jealous of them losing weight. And I think Tim's he's a thinner person in general, but I think it's cool that you guys were together beforehand. Mm-hmm. And so, can you maybe talk about how has it changed your relationship with each other?
So I will say there will never ever be a day that I regretted the surgery. For my own personal life, and specifically for my relationship with Tim and with my kids. Simply because specifically between Tim and I, Tim knew I was miserable. Like the first 2 years of our relationship were probably the worst, and I promise you they can't be any worse than they were our first 2 years. And together we've kind of grown through it. I will say when I did an entire lifestyle change within like 6 months. I quit smoke. I'd smoked for 15 years. I quit smoking in June, Memorial Day weekend. I quit smoking. Like in a matter of 6 months, everything was different. And I have to say, like, kudos to him, because not only did he deal with all my attitude and the crap through all of it, because I mean those are huge things I let go of and was trying to change. But our relationship is 110 times better than it was. I'm not as miserable. I don't hide myself in my bedroom anymore, like just being depressed.
It's so hard unless people have been in that situation. So, at one point I was heavy at one point, and I can relate. And I think a lot of times people don't realize like how much better you can feel. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My confidence is through the roof compared to the way it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I will never forget the day we did the running workout. I think what was the 800 meter splits, and you were completing them in the time. Mm-hmm. And I think we got to it was the second from last one, and you said something about being a smoker. And I kept trying to tell you, like, look at how big of a change you've made in such a short period of time. Mm-hmm. Kholton, why don't you talk about how life has changed since your mom started CrossFit and lost all this weight?
Well, she has been running a lot more with, like, all of us kids doing a lot more walking, and mostly.
How has attitude changed?
Not more, like, less grumpy, less locking her in the room, like how she said, and like all of that.
So, not only did, like, because that is something that plays into it, but do you find that she wants to do stuff more?
Yes.
You guys go out and do stuff more?
A lot more, yep.
The more enjoyable?
Yep.
I think that's something a lot of people don't realize is the effects it has on the family. Like that was something Laurel talked about, is she never felt like she was worth it until she made the change, and then she didn't realize the impact it would have with her and Adam. And then with the kids now starting CrossFit, and see, you have Kholton in CrossFit. And Kholton, how old are you?
10 years old.
10 years old. You just finished up football, right?
Yep.
Can you talk about that a little bit, how having CrossFit as a family thing that you two do together, how that's impacted you?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
It has a lot more, me and her spend a lot more time in like CrossFit and all that.
So CrossFit has actually turned into like, it's our thing. That's mine and Colton's thing. So for a long time it was just me and Kholton. And then my younger three came along. So Kholton lost a lot of just me and him time when that happened. So this is like, even when Colton's grades suffer or aren't doing that well and his attitude's in the tank and needs fixed, Tim and I at one point had talked about grounding him. And since he has fun at CrossFit, like obviously that's something that he could be grounded from. But the conversation between Tim and I had after I thought about it for a day was like, I don't know that that's necessarily want to take something from him, simply because not only is that just our thing, and I don't want to lose that, but I don't want him to view anything like this in a negative light. So,
I like it. Kholton, you got anything to follow up on that? Do you like CrossFit?
Yeah, I love it. It's really fun.
What do you like about it?
It's fun. I get in shape a lot more for football when it comes to next year.
You think Coach Matt's pretty good?
Yes.
So I would really like to get you, and Cam said he would like to do the podcast with you, and then have Coach Matt just interview you guys. What do you think?
Yeah.
Cool. So Cheyenne, what was I'm curious because you had only started CrossFit for a very short time before the surgery, and you weren't doing anything active beforehand, right?
right.
So what were your energy levels like when you came out of the surgery and you were in this massive calorie deficit?
They weren't the best. I won't deny that. Because even after the surgery, for 2 weeks, you're on a liquid diet. And then for 2 weeks after the liquid diet, you go to a puree diet. And then 2 weeks after that, you're allowed to slowly incorporate just soft foods. So you're almost 2 months out before you can actually eat real food. So my energy level wasn't the best. I won't lie, I struggled. And there were even moments where I was like, I don't know that CrossFit's really my thing. Maybe I need to do something at my own pace. But it was literally just a decision that, like, come hell or high water, it was happening. I was doing this, I was doing it for me. And not to sound like my kids are my world, obviously. But ultimately, the decision was they're only around temporarily. Like, they turn 18, they have their own lives eventually. At some point, I'm not needed as much, and I'm me forever. So why would I want to be miserable like that forever?
Right, and you're setting this example for them too, that it's important to take care of ourselves even at our busiest times. That was something during the summer when you were running kids to cheerleading and football practice, and you were saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue. And I'm totally aware it's very difficult in the summer times. I have it easy because I live here, but you still made time and you still prioritize it. You were still making it. You still made Committed Club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something, but you knew how important it was. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people to realize is you don't realize you're worth it and that you almost need it until you've felt it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would have somebody that would have told me that they actually enjoyed exercise and like it. If you just told me that 2 years ago, that like it puts them in a better mood and their depression's not as bad and their anxiety is less and stuff like that, I'd have been like, yeah, no way.
What made you change your opinion on that? Is it what keeps you coming back every day?
Simply the effects that it's had on myself. Those exactly what I just listed. Like I didn't come on Friday, which after I didn't come on this past Friday, I immediately like Saturday morning was like, oh, that was dumb. Like, why didn't I just go? Why didn't I just do it? And it was simply because like there was stuff going at home. And then we had the dinner here Friday evening. I didn't want to make 2 trips back and forth to Fairmont because I had to get Cole. And then when I was here Friday evening, I was like, why didn't I just do that? Because Tim would have been more than willing to drive Cole. Like, why did I just... So, I guess I've had the exact same effects on me. So I didn't come Friday. So today is my first day back. Youngest son had a doctor's appointment yesterday evening after work. So today's my first day back, and I haven't exercised in 4 days. I did run on Saturday and Sunday at home, but it's not the same.
Right.
So, and even today, like I was at work today, and I was like, oh, I can tell that my anxiety's higher today than it usually would be. And I'm not saying that that's the reason, but I know that I didn't come 2 days that I should have been here. So
it is. It's funny because like you'll not dread the workout going in, but you'll maybe look at it and you'll be like, oh, we're doing this. And then the second that 3, 2, 1 go, you get through it, you accomplish it, and then you always feel better afterwards. Like, have you ever had a day where you regretted coming to the gym?
No, I've never regretted it.
Yeah, and that's most people. Like, we regret not going after the day's over, but I've never once even, like, for people listening, I've done jiu-jitsu for 14 years, and I've had multiple injuries from that, but I've never regretted showing up to a class or a session. So,
right. There was even one day that I came, like I did not sleep at all the night before. It was just one night, a random night that I just couldn't sleep. And I probably got maybe 45 minutes of sleep. And I went to work and I debated on coming. And I remember a day of you, I don't know whether it was one of your classes or something, but you had made the statement, like, just come and just do the workout, the warm up. Like, if you want to leave after the warm up, go home. So I came, and obviously I did the warm up and I stayed, you know. So sometimes there's days where I'm like, just go do the warm up. Just do the warm up. Then you at least moved. And if you want to go home after that, you can go.
Yeah. Have you ever felt like leaving in the middle of a workout?
No.
Once you get started, you're good. Yeah. So I've recently, I started saying that because I picked that up from, I can't remember. It was level 4 on one of our coaches development calls, but he said he uses that tactic. The other one I always say is it's better moving a PVC pipe, coming in here and moving a PVC pipe, than sitting on the couch at home. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think of where I want to go with this piece, but have you ever been a part of an exercise program before? No. So this is the only CrossFit that you know,
only
right?
Gym.
And I mean, you've heard multiple people who have been to CrossFit at other gyms and multiple other gyms. Like, we've had people drop in at out-of-state gyms.
Yeah.
And they always come back and they always say, this place is different. And it's hard when this is all you've experienced, because we were not like that when we first opened. I mean, I have developed it over 3 years to be this level, but do you think that the way we structure our classes and the way we approach workouts is something that has made it easier for you to keep coming back to?
Yes, absolutely. So even though I've been coming for going on a year and a half, I am still not comfortable enough in my form in any kind of power cleans or even the front squats we did today. So and from what I've heard, obviously I have nothing to compare it to, is that I've heard that other gyms don't necessarily break down the formation like that, like it can be done here, or even the bus stops that we have here. And obviously I can't legless rope climb a handful of times. So, like, I don't have anything to compare it to, I guess, but that's what keeps me coming back, is simply because I know not only is it benefiting my health, but it's educational for me.
Right. And that's, like, what we do is not a secret. And, you know, I wish that other places had that standard. And again, it was not like that for the first year that we were open. It wasn't really until I started doing the coaches development group with Jason Ackerman that completely changed my outlook on CrossFit and how to approach these workouts. And like you just said, we do educational pieces, we break stuff down, and my big thing is, how can I, as a coach, make you 1% better today? How can I give you just a micro win, whether it's, I had PT with Chris this morning, and she was asking about, what do you do with an athlete who can no longer PR? Meaning, at some point in time, we are never going to lift more. Mm-hmm. You know, at some point, like, I'm never going to lift 500 pounds. I'm fully aware of that. So at some point in time, my deadlift PR is going to be maxed out. I'm never going to match that again. How does an athlete continue to show up and want to be better? And I said, you set daily goals, you set weekly goals, you set yearly goals, set a PR for that age. And just know that we're doing this for wellness and making our life easier than trying to hit PRs.
Right.
And you've probably seen this before. Did you do the class when I was getting Laurel to PR her clean?
I'm not 100% sure.
There wasn't a lot. It was one of the few times that I coached an evening class. That's the thing, too. I don't get to coach you very often, but my style is I have to know where you're at. And so I'm sure you've seen this before where Laurel was moving the bar really well. In my head, I was like, okay, she's going to be the one I push today. And so I pushed her. She got a clean PR. At the same time, we have another athlete standing right next to her. It was her second class. I kept focusing on, hey, I just want you to get 1% better on that front rack position. So every clean, we got a little bit better to where she finally got a front rack position.
Yeah.
Totally separate scenarios. We coached them differently, and that's, to me, the biggest thing that we do differently is every single person in class is an individual.
Yeah.
And so you probably had classes before where you show up, you're not feeling it. Cool, we recognize that. I want you to just move. And then you have other classes like the 800-meter run day, where I'm out there and I'm pushing you and I want to see you succeed. That was a big rant on my side. But
No, I do think it's great that even in a group setting that it can be broke down into each individual and set up specifically for them. And like that's one thing that I think for a lot of us like keeps us coming back. Because even though I can't do the things that you do, I can get better or it can be broke down to where I can at someday be where you're at. If
Right.
you know what I mean. So
and that's the whole point of CrossFit is it should apply. What's the saying? Our needs vary by degree, not by kind. And so, great example. You mentioned today's workout. It was squat cleans and rope climbs. Well, we don't have a lot of athletes that can do rope climbs yet, but we are progressing to that. And so, which option did you do for today?
So I did 2 rope climbs, and then to finish it off, I did the 4 sit-to-stands.
Okay, so you went from you didn't do the legless. You actually did the rope climb using your feet.
Using my legs, yeah.
Yeah. But when did you get that progression?
So that's actually the 3rd time I've climbed the rope. Matt Walker was still coaching evening classes. The first one I got.
He does a good job of teaching the J hook, but it probably took, would you say, more than 6 months?
Oh yeah,
of doing
I was definitely
CrossFit?
here. Oh yeah.
And that's something I think a lot of people get frustrated with. They'll see what the workout is written as, and it's you write it for the best, you scale for the rest. So whenever we write the programming and we adjust it, I'm looking at what am I going to be doing for the day? What's Aaron going to be doing? What's Kevin is a freakish runner. Like I'm trying to program for who is the best in those categories, and then we need to modify and try to match those. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh yeah.
When do you think that you fell in love with CrossFit?
Actually, it was probably be my first competition.
Which one was that? Did you do the individual or?
Yeah, I did the individual for Festivus in April last year. Because I had just had surgery for the Thanksgiving Throwdown.
Okay.
So I couldn't do it, which I don't know that I would have anyways because I was brand new. But I did do it in April, and I was able to accomplish way more than I could have ever thought that I was going to accomplish. Especially what I just went through in the previous 8 months before that.
What made you want to do a competition?
To see where I was at, honestly. I know, not that I've never been in a gym, but I guess to compare it to, I wanted to know, how much can I move? How fast can I move it? I did grow up on a farm, so, I knew I wasn't, completely weak, but
Yeah.
I guess I just wanted to see, where I was at, and also compared to other people.
Don't worry. Eventually, I'll swap out all these mic arms for this nice one that doesn't. You don't hear it from space when you tap it. Kholton, were you shocked by your mom's competition? Because you were here for the competition, right?
I think for the not the one in April.
He was here for the one in October.
Yeah, in the October.
Okay. Yeah, you helped us
Yes.
move equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you ever shocked by how badass your mom is?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hey Cheyenne, we are about 25 minutes in. Did you think we make it this long?
No, I'm not gonna lie, my anxiety was up a little bit.
But it was totally easy, right?
Yeah,
it was just an easy conversation. What would you say to someone who is on the fence about getting started with CrossFit?
Just go to 2 classes. Go to 2 classes, see how it makes you feel. Specifically here, because not only, even if you can't do the actual workout, it can be set up to where it can be modified to where you can do it. Be confident in yourself. Don't doubt yourself as much. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm just saying, like, just do it. Do it for you. Like I said, I'm me forever. And why wouldn't I want to put the work into me? Why wouldn't you want to put the work into you?
I like it. I like that statement of you are you forever. So I think it's a good way to lead it off. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.